Welcome to Railfans. I'm Shane Sege. Join us as we discover Ottawa's O-Train, Toronto's subway, and Montreal's metro system together. Welcome to Railfans Canada. I'm Shane Sege, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Stage 2 LRT progress in Ottawa. FedCo of the City Council met last week on Friday, and they were given an update on the Stage 2 progress. Obviously, there's a extension going in the east from Blair to Trim Road, from the west extending from Tunney's Pasture to Algonquin, as well as to Moodie, and then going south towards Limebank, and with a spur connection between South Keys and the airport. So lots of stations in progress of being built. Lots of activity all over, new trains coming in all the time, and a lot of important milestones being had. So we're going to take a look at the east extension first. Mostly going to be rehashing what was already discussed at FedCo, but going to be sort of giving my take on where things are at. So first of all, we're going to start off with the east extension. We're right now looking eastbound towards Orleans. As you can see in the picture right now, this right here is the flyover up in the distance that will permit the train to transition from the former transitway to reach the median of the Highway 174 to then, go to the stations that follow in the east. To the right of the frame, you can see the existing transitway road bridge. That's going to be apparently taken down in the spring. So it's going to free up some space around here, open up the sidelines a little more, because it's no longer going to be used. Obviously, based on that information, we can assume that the conversion of the transitway exit road from Blair to the flyover, as you can see here, will start advancing more than it has, which really hasn't advanced much because it's still in use by the buses. So it's definitely an important milestone that's going to happen at that point. We obviously want to see that connection being made. And we also hear about the section of track, let's say between Jeanne d'Arc and Montreal Road, there's going to be test track installed there. They say test track, it's really going to be the final track, but it's going to be a testing zone for the trains. So to get the trains there, we need to have the line connected from Blair up to the flyover. I don't see them bringing in trains by truck, so to just deliver them over there, reassemble them just to test the track. They need to get the connection from Blair all the way over there done. So that's going to be an important thing to see happen. And then in the next picture, we see a closer shot of the flyover. Again, that was completed quite a few months ago. The highway was realigned to pass underneath. Definitely a big change to the landscape when you're passing through the 174 around here, especially going westbound where you pass directly under the LRT guideway. It's going to be really impressive to see when the trains are passing above the traffic. If you're passing by car, as well as riding the train, you're going to be able to look down, see the highway traffic. Emphasis on traffic because it's probably going to be backed up and slowly moving, whereas in the train you're going to be sailing straight on through. So it's going to be great to see that. Here's another shot looking at the reverse angle towards Blair. You can see again the flyover. Lots of concrete has been put down. Probably going to start seeing the overhead catenary system being installed in the near future, as well as the tracks themselves and the rail being installed. So a lot of progress here. This is definitely one of the big key parts of the eastern extension. I would say this flyover is very key. The Montreal Road station itself is key, and really the realignment of the highway itself to open up space in the median to allow for the construction of the guideway, the track, the rails, the overhead power system. That's obviously key. A lot of these milestones have really already been achieved to a great extent. So east section is really looking good. So as we move farther east, you can see the Montreal Road station. Again, this was pretty much, over the last year or two, this whole section was pretty much dismantled entirely and rebuilt while keeping the traffic open. So again, very impressive that how all of this happened. built 2 new highway overpasses to the sides. Everything was opened up. The middle was opened up. Now we've had a lot of construction over this year in the summer and the spring and the fall to build the station foundation and the station itself. We're going to start seeing some structural steel probably rising in the relative near future. And just really an overall very impressive site that I've seen how much has been done here. As you can see, the highway lanes on both sides, the station in the middle. Station is going to be a center platform station with the tracks going on the sides and people be waiting right in the middle, which is what you can see right there. Very impressive. And again, another shot here. You can see the side sections of the station, so that the flatter parts, not the raised section in the middle. The raised section in the middle is going to be where people wait, where the elevators, the stairs, if there's escalators, I don't think so. That's where all that's going to be happening, but the trains are going to be passing on the sides. So you can definitely get an interesting idea here of how it looks. And we're also told that the highway lanes will sort of fall back in a little more towards the center once that additional space is no longer required by the construction. Now moving farther east, obviously it passes over Greens Creek. There was a lot of work that was done here to allow the stream and the creek to continue to pass through. There's also going to be some multifunction bike lanes, let's say passing from Montreal Road all the way to Jeanne d'Arc and beyond. So it's going to be great to be able to pass through this area in a new way. It's not just going to be limited to cars and transit coming through here. So it's definitely going to provide additional connectivity for people. Moving farther east quite a bit, they didn't really give us any pictures of Jeanne d'Arc or Convent Glen. If you're interested in pictures like that, feel free to go on the Railfans site. Under otrains, you'll find the Snapshot Updates. You can find pictures of all the stations, really. This right here is Place d'Orleans. And interesting with the station, again, the station itself, the platforms are going to be in the median of the highway. A lot of room was cleared out here to expand that area to allow for the station construction to take place. It's sort of made like the highway here really dips down underneath Champlain, and it's sort of in a trench, right? So they had to really mine more of the rock out from the sides to expand the lanes out farther to the left and to the right to make more room for, you know, the construction here, because it is a pretty confined space, and they've done a good job at opening it up. What we see here really is the existing pedestrian overpass for the station that's in red. That's going to have a connection to come down to the train platforms below. Behind that, you can see the Champlain Road overpass. There's going to be an entrance from there, again, street level, to come into the station. And there's also going to be an additional pedestrian walkway that's going to start from, in the shot here, the right side of the picture. That's where the main bus loop and bus station is, as well as the mall. There's going to be a second pedestrian walkway that will directly link into there. That's going to provide a fare paid zone connection. So if you're already transferring from the bus, you can come down and switch to the train without having to swipe or go through additional gates. It'll make for a quicker transit between both sides of the station. But you can also exit to the existing pedestrian walkway in red. There'll be fare gates up there as well. That would be the way that you would go if you were to exit and continue to the left to get to the park and ride if you parked your car over there. So lots of activity here, mostly relegated around the existing pedestrian overpass, and we're starting to see some more activity taking shape around the Champlain overpass and working its way underneath there. So definitely a site to keep an eye on. Again, confined space, but they're moving at a fairly rapid pace at this point, so things are really advancing here. And lastly, in the east, we're going to look at Trim Road Station. So this one right here is very interesting because where you see pretty much dead center in the shot up there, you can see the highway. That's where the trim road used to pass and cross through the highway. It was a level crossing with a traffic light. Incidentally, where the traffic light used to be is where the station is going to be. So naturally, the intersection, something had to move, and the intersection moved. So you don't see it in this shot, but it's off screen to the right side. The intersection for Trim Road and the crossing there moved farther east to make way for the station to be built. And we're not really seeing much activity yet, because that realignment obviously was a big undertaking. And to realign the road, you can see the road come up at the bottom right of the shot here. Here's another view of the road. You can see some construction trailers. There's a green one and a white one farther up there. It sort of looks like a road that doesn't connect to the highway anymore. That's exactly where the intersection used to be that would cross straight across there. So that's approximately where the station's going to be. And there's going to be tail tracks that extend a little farther east into the curve there a little bit before it hits the new Trim Road intersection. So definitely a lot of activity that happened here. Not really any activity on the station construction itself, definitely getting the ground ready and foundation ready for being able to build the foundation for the station, the guideway. So we're going to see more activity on this probably early next year. Obviously, we're really getting into the heavy part of the winter, snow, ice, freezing point, so I don't think we're going to see much activity happen here until the spring, and then we'll probably see things pick up in pace quite a bit. So they gave us an update on the timeline. So obviously, as I mentioned before, the key objectives were realigning the highway, making room for the construction that would happen in the median. The rail flyover, which has really progressed to a significant point at this point. Montreal Road overpass really is moving well ahead. The good news with this is that really the schedule seems to be on track. It's pacing really well, as we're going to discuss, and if you listen to the Fedco update, West Extension and the South Extension are falling behind. Unfortunately, that's the case, but the East Extension, the biggest hurdles really have already been realized. So if it falls behind at this point, I don't think it would be by much. Maybe it'll actually even be ahead a little bit, because it is progressing really well, and this section is really hasn't really had much significant challenge imposed on it as far as problems that they've encountered as far as we've been informed. So it's really moving very well. Very happy to see that. You can see the Blair Road Transit Detour is going to be taking place there. It's really going to see a lot of station construction wrap up and take place over the next 2 years, and then we're going to see in 2024 commissioning, testing, but we're going to see testing ahead of time. So again, keep an eye out in the coming months, especially in the spring there. Between Jeanne d'Arc and Montreal Road, we should see some testing. That's what they say. I don't know what needs to happen for that other than really getting the connection from Blair to the flyover and then getting the tracks to get them over there. So we'll see what happens. Whether they bring in the trains by truck, I think it's very unreasonable to assume that will be the case. But it's going to be good to see that advance. So we're going to see some activity on this very soon. Hopefully in the early spring, in the summer next year, we'll see maybe some trains parked along that section. It's going to be very exciting to see, and very much looking forward to it. So now we're going to transition over to the West Extension. And the West Extension really, as I mentioned earlier, goes from Tunney's Pasture all the way out to Algonquin, which is the former baseline station, and Moodie towards Canada. So key to this is making the connection at Tunney's Pasture. As you can see, there's some buses crossing over the trench. That crossing was made part of the construction for when Tunney's Pasture Stage 1 was built. The foundation for that little, bus bridge, let's say, there's actually foam blocks underneath there holding up that construction, that road, that overpass. It's filled in underneath, so we need to open that up to allow for the trains to pass back and forth. As you can see in the shot, big concrete overpass that's being built there. That's the goldenrod overpass that they're going to build to allow buses to transit into and out of Tunney's Pasture station. That's obviously key. We should see that be completed in the next couple months, hopefully, because there's going to be a transit way detour when the transitway between Tunney's Pasture and the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway closes in the early spring. So what's going to happen is buses are going to cross over back to Scott Street and travel down Scott Street all the way to this new overpass that they built. That's a temporary overpass. It's going to cross over from Scott Street to Workman, I believe is the name of the road. That's going to be extended to exit onto the Parkway, the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway, that the buses will then continue as per usual to Lincoln Fields and beyond. So again, another key development here to allow for the transitway shutdown and detour that's necessary to convert Westboro Station, Dominion Station, which is going to become Kitchissippi Station. So a lot of activity here. Moving forward to the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway, we can see the work that's being done on the cut and cover tunnel. So there's going to be a tunneled section underneath the road. The parkway's been realigned to move out of the way temporarily for this construction to take place. As you can see to the left of the road, there's a lot of heavy machinery working to excavate and build this tunnel. Cut and cover means that they're excavating like a trench, let's say. They're going to build the tunnel and then they're going to cover it over again with the ground. In this case, there's going to be some road that's going to be going over it. So as you can see in these shots, a lot of activity here. This next shot, you can see the formwork for the tunnel taking place, and that's where the trains are going to be diving down just after Kitchissippi Station. They're going to dive down into this tunnel and really only resurface at Lincoln Field. So it's going to be several kilometers of underground tunnel. Now the tunnel is going to open up at Sherbourne and New Orchard stations. The stations are going to be open air, so you're going to be able to look straight up, more or less, and see open sky. You're not going to be completely underground. But as soon as the train leaves the station again, it's going to be again covered underground. So you can see a lot of the work here that's taking place with the tunnel. And then again, you can see it turning towards Richmond Road and towards Byron, where it's going to be going underneath the Byron Linear Park. Lots of activity here. They're doing a pretty good job with the road closures and the construction. It's definitely a big, heavy construction area around there. As you can see, it really gets into the middle of the neighborhood and the community. So, lots of work taking place here to try and minimize the impact on those areas. And then continuing even further west, now we're getting to Richmond Road on the right, Byron on the left. The Byron Linear Park is exactly where the open trench is right now. That's where the stations and where the train tracks and guideway are going to be. Again, mostly covered up, except where Sherbourne and New Orchard stations are going to be. So those stations are going to be open air, as I mentioned before. You're going to be able to look up. You're going to be able to see the sky or the stars, depending on what time you're riding. And this area is going to be restored, so we're going to see the grass and some trees return here. You're going to see multi-use pathways, so people will be able to go running, jogging, biking, walking around this area once again, but this is going to be still years down the road. Looking farther along here, this right here is at Richmond and Woodruff. So again, another important development that happened earlier on this year, where there was a big detour for about a week or two as they excavated and opened up this area and then built the temporary road bridge, steel plates nonetheless, but to allow for the road to continue to be operating while they excavated, worked underneath to build the proper tunnel and the road overpass here. So as you can see, a lot of activity in this area. You look back a year ago, this was pretty much still level ground, although heavily under construction with construction walls and fences up, but it didn't really dive down into the ground very much. We're really seeing, the size and scope of the work that's happening here, which is very impressive. Big open area, wide, deep, especially when you see some of the shots of the construction workers deep. We don't have any in this presentation. It is very deep. And it just really gives you a good sense of scale as to the undertaking and how quickly this really has been excavated and opened up. So now that we've seen a lot of excavation happen here, we're going to start seeing some more advancement probably next year and the year that follows. Building up the tunnel underneath, building up the tunnel walls, the roof, to then be able to restore this area to what it was before. Trees, grass, pathways for people to run, exercise, enjoy the outdoors. As we continue farther, it just keeps going, right? Like it's amazing how much excavation has happened here in the last year, especially. So those little crossings that you see on the trench there, they look like little bridges or pipes and all that. Those are conduits. So either electrical. There was some major water mains that were relocated around here. Bell, Rogers, fiber optic, connectivity, gas lines, all sorts of things that need to be maintained, but present some challenge. So they had to, add some support to be able to support these now that they're just up in the air in the open, to maintain those connections, to maintain those services. So again, more complexity. And continuing further, it just keeps going and going, this whole area. Just the size and the scope of this, you just can't underestimate and downplay how much there really is here as far as this project. It just stretches on and on. And then this right here is another shot. This should have been a little farther earlier on. This is where it comes in again from the Sir John A. Macdonald towards Richmond. Now, finally, once you get past all of that on Richmond and Byron, we finally make our way to Lincoln Fields. The tunnel will come out, as you can see in the picture here, you can see the station right dead center. That's where the LRT station is going to be. If you continue to go directly behind that into the background where the high-rise apartments are, that's approximately where the tunnel is going to exit and come to the surface, let's say, open up from Richmond and Byron. This is where the main connections are going to happen to go towards Algonquin and Moodie. So let's say towards Nepean and Barhaven and towards Canada. The station is going to be unique. It's going to have 3 platforms. So on the right side of the shot there, you're going to have one platform that's going to be combined to go back towards downtown and to go east. And then on the left, there's going to be 2 platforms. One will be going towards Algonquin, and the other one's going to be going towards Moodie. This is to allow for the transfer between the 2 different lines, depending on which train you were on, if you need to transfer, or if you're getting on at Lincoln Fields to be able to get to your destination. Lots of activity happening here. You can see some structural steel going up where the elevator pits are going to be. The station itself, the existing original station, really is starting to slowly come down, and you can see the temporary bus loop in the foreground there. But really a big impressive site. It's advancing quite nicely. You can see in the shot as well, just next to the station there, there's a white tarped over section next to the road. They built a new overpass here to allow for the trains to be able to pass underneath Carling Avenue. Now the road, as that advances further, is going to be realigned to pass over that so that they can open up where the existing road is now to convert that as well into another overpass so that, again, train can pass underneath Carling Avenue. Right now it's pretty much closed up on both sides, so there's no way for the train. We need to open that up. Again, slight little road deviations and realignments to allow that to happen. Moving farther west from Lincoln Fields, you can see the Lincoln Fields flyover. So you can see in the bottom right shot of the picture there, that's the existing transitway road, bus coming down there. The as I mentioned a while ago, the train will split at Lincoln Fields to go towards Moodie and to go towards Algonquin. That flyover will allow the connection towards Moodie. That's going to pass over through the Connaught Park there to get towards pretty much the 417 and in proximity of Queensview and Pinecrest. So obviously the train needs to fly over the other line of the train, which is going to pass underneath, sort of similar in the way that the road does right now. That track will go towards Baseline and Algonquin. So you want to be able to have Moodie trains passing over and Baseline Algonquin trains passing underneath. This is advancing, obviously a big construction. You can also see the existing Woodruff High School pedestrian walkway at the bottom of the shot. That's going to be coming down as well in the near future. And a new bridge is being built concurrently at the same time to replace that vital connection for people and for students and residents. So now we're going to continue on the branch that goes towards Algonquin. We're taking a look now towards Iris. And again, there's a creek that passes through here. So they have to divert the water, maintain that waterway while building the station. So obviously you can see the road sort of gets realigned around here. That's the transitway that gets realigned around. You can see the intersection for Iris as well as a little jiggy-jaggy there. Not quite lining up with the way it used to be. And you can see again the transitway road that kind of loops around a little bit. Lots of activity happening here. We're going to see the station start to really progress around here in the, I would say probably at some point next year. The station is going to be below grade. The connections are going to be on top, so you're going to pass through stairs and elevators to pass down to the station below. Another shot again, obviously showing the Pinecrest Creek and all the activity that's happening around here to allow for the water, this important waterway, to continue to flow. Because obviously, as we all know, water is going to come through one way or another, so you want to be able to maintain it in such a way that it preserves the environment as well as it doesn't impact the infrastructure that's being built. And finally, looking at the western terminus for this branch of the line, Algonquin Station. As you can see, the Algonquin AC building to the left, the bus platforms to the right, and in the middle you can see sort of the grassy area. It's been opened up to make way and to allow for more construction into the underground station. Algonquin again is going to be an underground station below grade. That tunnel for the station and that whole construction was built concurrently at the same time as when the Algonquin building here was, Algonquin College building, AC building, was built years ago. In anticipation for this to be an eventuality and to be built. So they built it all at the same time to minimize impact on both, especially on the college, due to it being so close. So what's going to happen here, that opening is going to be a station entrance. And then in the distance, you can see just behind, there's another overpass over there for the road, for the buses. There's another station entrance building over there as well. That's more where the bus loop is going to be built. As well, that station building is going to have a pedestrian walkway that's going to be elevated and directly connecting into the AC building at Algonquin College. So you'll be able to transit from underground into that station building, walk from the overhead walkway into the Algonquin College, and then use the Algonquin College pedestrian walkways to then cross over Woodruff and go to the other buildings farther down into the campus. So a lot of connectivity here, a lot of activity, and progressing pretty nicely. Obviously, most of it's underground. Don't really see what's happening very much, but it's progressing quite well. And a big thing is that the station cavern and the underground portions had already been built in the past. So that's definitely a key thing to keep in mind. Now, moving back towards Lincoln Fields, the other branch, this right here is looking at the connection. Again, keeping in mind, we went back to where the flyover is at Lincoln Fields. The train is going to pass from the flyover over the line that goes to Iris and Algonquin, pass very close to the Merivale OC Transpo bus garage, just in the bottom left of the shot here. I mean, it's impressive how close it's passing to all of these homes. Definitely a big undertaking. It's going to be all opened up here to allow for the cut and cover tunnel to be built and then closed up again. So as you can see, it really passes in proximity to a lot of homes, and then we can see here Queensview Station just across from Leon's, and IKEA on the other side is going to be a pedestrian walkway that'll cross here to go directly to the left side in proximity of the Ottawa Citizen and Post Media building, allowing connection for people that want to walk over to IKEA. This is the first station. Again, progressing quite nicely over here. They have a lot of open space here to be able to build the station. You can see a lot of the retaining walls and formwork taking place here, so it's definitely progressing very nicely. Moving farther west towards Pinecrest, you can see that they have built underpass under Pinecrest, the road there, so that the train can pass underneath. Another shot here, looking again, another underpass for the on and off ramps at Pinecrest. Again, key to allow the trains to pass through while not impacting or conflicting with the road traffic that's on the highway getting on and off. And again, now looking towards the western terminus, we're skipping over obviously Bayshore, which would be between Pinecrest and Moodie. We're looking at Moodie right now. This is going to be the western terminus for line 3. And you can see where the station's going to be. It's going to be pretty much underneath those two overpasses on the sort of the left side of the highway there. As the train continues farther this way, it's going to at one point hopefully be extended to Canada as part of stage 3. But in any case, this is where the site of where the Moodie LMSF facility is going to be located. As you can see, it's being built rather rapidly here along the side of the Highway 417. LMSF, Light Maintenance and Storage Facility. So they're going to be storing trains here, much as they do currently at the Belfast MSF. And they're also going to be doing some light maintenance work on the trains here. So the heavy maintenance obviously is going to be maintained at Belfast, but this is going to give additional flexibility and more space. Maybe washing trains, doing slight adjustments, inspections, things like that will probably happen here. This is a big, long, expansive facility. Relatively narrow, but long and expansive. Really stretching along quite a distance here. You can see it really goes off far into the distance along the highway here. Again, a couple of views of how expansive it is. And trains are going to be stored here again when they're out of service. Another shot looking at the maintenance facility. Now taking a look at the West schedule update. So intermediate milestones such as the Moodie LMSF and some of the stations are tracking well and or ahead of schedule. But they did mention that there is some schedule pressure due to tunnel excavation work near the SGM Parkway. So apparently they said that the ground, the rock, the soil there is presenting more challenge than was anticipated, and it's taking longer to deal with that. But they did say that it's not stuff that can't be solved. It's just stuff that's taking more time to, deal with, work with properly to make sure that the work is done properly, safely, that the structures are secure and sound moving forward, that it doesn't present issues. So obviously some more engineering, some more work, excavation, maybe additional design work as far as how things are going to be built here are required, and that takes more time, right? So that's obviously creating pressure on the schedule to maintain the deadline. Keep in mind that the west is supposed to open lastly after the south and the east extensions. They're targeting mid to end of 2025. Whether that is going to be possible or not, I mean, we're going to see as things develop here, but they did mention that there's some pressure against the schedule to maintain those timelines. And important thing to note here is we're seeing that the testing and commissioning really starts showing up in 2023. So we should see potentially, if things hold true, some trains running on some portions of the line here some point in 2023. Obviously, you want to get the connection from Tunney's Pasture out to there done at some point so that the trains can pass through, because they're being delivered to Belfast. So you need the train tracks to be installed to allow them to pass through. So it's definitely the timeline on here is definitely still a little farther out than the east and the south as far as seeing some things really come to conclusion and testing and trains moving. But hopefully they can address the pressures that exist on the tunnel excavation work near the SGM Parkway and keep things on track as best as they can to not further create any delay on opening this important line. So now we're going to take a look at the south extension. So this goes from Bayview all the way to Limebank in Riverside South, as well as the spur line to the airport that goes between South Keys intermediate station at Uplands and then at the airport. So this line right here, obviously, if you want to see a lot of pictures on the progress on this line, a lot of our railfan contributors tend to frequent this line the most out of all of them. So I definitely invite you to visit Railfans Canada under the otrain section, the Snapshot Updates. There's a lot of updates showing the many stages of progress that have happened on the south extension, virtually at all the stations. So first of all, we're going to start off at Bayview Station. You can see the existing station in the foreground there. They're expanding the station because it's going to have two platforms. Technically, only one is going to be really actively used. That's the existing platform. But the second platform is going to be for either storing a train for emergency use, or if high frequency is needed at some point for events or whatever it may be, the flexibility will be built in from the start. So a common theme at all of these south extension stations is the existing stations that were there previously are being expanded. The platforms used to be around 40 some meters. They're going to be expanded to 80 some meters to accommodate the new Stadler Flirt trains that are double the length of the original trains that were being used. So obviously you can see a lot of work happening at Bayview here, building new platforms. That's a reverse angle. You can see in the bottom left there the little formwork where the two double tracks are going to be installed for the two platforms at Bayview. Again, important station because it's the main transfer point to get to line 2. Again, another angle, you can see the work happening underneath. And another shot here showing just the size and the scope of the station. It's unfortunate that the station wasn't built with the two platforms to begin with. but they're retrofitting it right now. And when stage 1 was built, it wasn't stage 2 wasn't a definite at that point, so they built it as best as they could to now be modified. But I wouldn't say the modifications are overly extensive. There's no additional vertical circulation. Existing vertical circulation is enough as it stands right now, and there's going to be a little walk around to get to the second platform at the north end of the station. So moving on from Bayview, we're going to look at Corso Italia. Originally the station was going to be called the Gladstone, but due to the name change, it's now going to be Corso Italia. This station right here, double platform station. Both platforms are going to be actively used, so there'll be a northbound and a southbound platform on both sides. The station has definitely seen a lot of work. There's going to be a nice entrance plaza at street level. So as you can see here, looking farther up from the Gladstone overpass, a big plaza area is going to be built and extend out there towards the station entrance. And a couple more shots again looking down into the platform area here. You can see a lot of the foundational work and where the guideway is going to be, the tracks. Double track both sides. Important to note that approximately around here as well is where there was passing tracks for the previous Trillium Line service. So rather than having just passing tracks, there's going to be double platforms, so people will be able to get on and off on both sides. Northbound train, southbound train, there'll be 2 trains docked into the station at the same time. So you should likely see less of the train coming to a complete stop waiting for the other train to pass, because it's going to be stopped into the station. So it's makes for a more productive travel experience, because the train's actually stopped for a real reason rather than having to wait for a train. So just a little side note on that. It's going to be an interesting development on in that sense. Now we look at Dow's Lake Station, again another station that changed names. It used to be Carling Station since 2001. The station again being modified to have 2 elevators rather than just the single elevator it formerly had. The station platforms also being lengthened again from 40 meters to 80 meters to accommodate the larger trains. What happens at the station in the future once the new Civic Hospital campus gets built, it's not entirely clear whether there'll be a below grade pedestrian connection that'll pass underneath Carling to get to the hospital, or what happens. It's not clear, but as it stands right now, 2 elevators over 1 and lengthened platforms. Otherwise the station should be more or less very similar to what it was before. And again, another angle looking at the longer platforms that are being built, the formwork. Now looking at Carleton Station, again, this used to be the main passing point for all the trains until the service was expanded in the around 2015, 2016, when the passing tracks were added and the service was upgraded to have 4 trains rather than just 2 running. So again, lots of improvements happening here. Longer platforms, again from 40 to 80 meters. The pedestrian underpass at in the background of the picture there, all the way in the far end, has been enlarged quite a bit. So it's going to be taller, it's going to be wider, probably 2, maybe 2.5 times wider. So it's definitely going to be more comfortable for people to walk through. It's not going to be cramped as it was before. There was also a tunnel stub section that was built that's now been buried underneath to allow for additional connectivity for Carleton University's pedestrian tunnel network, potentially linking into the station itself in the future, but unfortunately that's not in the plans right now. But that connection was built and buried underneath where the tracks are going to be relayed in the near future, so that that connectivity, that tunnel, won't impact the otrain operations again in the future. That was just done at the same time. Just get it out of the way while the whole ground is opened up. That was a good move on the part of Carleton. Finally, looking south of Carleton Station, the Rideau River Bridge. Bridge has been completely rejuvenated, let's say. The piers, the stonework underneath has been, a lot of remedial work to bring it back up to where it needs to be. A lot of repair, to significantly increase and extend the life of this important bridge, and that is very much key to the operation of the line. As well, you're going to be seeing a pedestrian walkway bridge being built more or less alongside this bridge to allow people to cross over to Mooney's Bay on the other side. Now we're looking at Mooney's Bay Station. Again, the station not seeing too much change. The platforms again being extended, and apparently they're also regrading a bit the slopes in and out of the station to make it a little more accessible for people than it was before. But again, I mean, the station was really, walk in, walk out. There wasn't any stairs, really. There wasn't any elevators, so nothing in that sense is changing. It's still progressing fairly well. For a relatively simple station, it's progressing a little slow, but probably because they've been making use of the resources elsewhere where they've been needed more, because this is more of a relatively simple station to build and expand. Now looking at the flyover. So this right here passes over the transitway, the South Transitway, and further in the distance is where the Via Rail track goes east to west underneath. This flyover allows the O train to pass directly over the Via Rail track. Previously, it was a diamond configuration, so it would pass directly level with the Via Rail track. The problem with that is that when a Via Rail train needed to pass through, there was some scheduling problems in that sense, right? That only one can go through at a time because you're passing practically like a flat intersection, right? This right here completely grade separates them. Benefit with that, O train can increase capacity however it needs to in the future. It's not contingent to be coordinating with Via Rail trains that may be passing through at any given time. It makes it safer, and the diamond crossing also contributed to wear and tear on the vehicles, especially on the wheels of the train. So it definitely makes for a smoother experience for the trains passing through, quicker experience, and just an overall nice improvement, and potentially better views for people passing through this nice area here. You'll be able to see more of an elevated view. Now looking at Walkley Station, again a new station that's being built. Lots of activity happening around here. Station formwork is really rising quickly. Platform area, waiting areas, really advancing nicely. Shot of the newly expanded Walkley MSF. You can see in the very distant background behind the new buildings, that's the old Walkley MSF, or Walkley Yard. This right here is the new facility. It's going to be housing the 7 Stadler Flirt trains, the 6 Alstom Coredia Lint existing trains. So definitely more trains to be servicing and to be maintaining. So bigger facilities are needed, and they're closer even to the Trillium line itself. So less distance to go between the yard and the main line. Here's another shot looking down. Now we're looking at Greenboro. Again, the station's been expanded from 40 to 80 meters. And you can see in the foreground here an additional stairway coming down due to the size increase of the station, just to give an additional emergency exit point from the station. Another shot looking at it. And now looking at South Keys. So South Keys is important because it's the transfer point between line 2 and line 4, which will go to the airport. Again, it'll be a 2-platform station, northbound and southbound, as well as the airport. And then moving farther south, of course, Hunt Club Road. So we need to build a bigger, more substantial rail connection to cross over here due to the additional train traffic that's going to be happening now that the line actually extends this far. So that's progressing quite nicely. Again, keep in mind these are pictures from November, so the work has definitely progressed quite a bit more from what we're seeing here, but still gives you an idea of the work taking place. Again, the transitway bridge on the left side there to loop down onto Hunt Club. A couple more shots of different angles. So now we're taking a look at the airport line. So obviously it branches off from South Keys. This right here is Upland Station. It's going to be located adjacent to the EY Center, providing 2 important functions for line. One, obviously, to give some nice connection to the EY Center, which is a popular convention and event space, but also to allow for the passing of the trains going between the airport and South Keys. So that's one shot. You can see the station concrete work has really advanced significantly. The structural steel has really gone up to a big degree. And then taking a look farther south towards the airport, you can see the NRC wind tunnel in the distance. Tracks have already been laid on a significant portion of this line 4. We don't have any pictures of the airport, but suffice it to say it's progressing quite nicely. And if you want to see pictures of how that's looking, again, go on the Snapshot Updates on otrain.railfans. So now looking farther along, Bowesville road overpass, stations being built all along here. Station itself, Leitrim station. Again, it's going to be a 2-platform station with tracks in the middle, platforms on both sides, progressing quite nicely. And again, where the guideway is going to be between the platforms. Then continuing on, I believe this is Bowesville. Really out there in the far south of the city. Again, lots of activity happening here. Structural concrete really taking place. You can see even the stairwells that have been, the formwork for that has been done. And then finally, Limebank, so crossing over the road, and the elevated station that's going to be the current terminus for Line 2 for the foreseeable future in Riverside South. Different couple angles of the station. Should be quite impressive with a lot of glass work once it's done. And finally, one of the new Stadler Flirt multiple units. This is the C10, so the first one that was received from the Stadler facility in Switzerland, so it made a long trip here. Still 6 more to receive. One of them is already in the city, but it's awaiting delivery to the Walkley facility in the early spring once conditions are right to allow for the safe delivery of the vehicle. And finally, just a couple shots at the trench of the Trillium line. So, between, let's say, Gladstone and Carling. Lots of work had to take place here to widen it, to open it up. As well to install additional pumping for the water that tends to end up in here from rain and weather events and just groundwater. And as you can see, different spools of conduit for electrical connectivity, communications. So taking a quick look at the revised schedule. So obviously should be no news to anybody that the otrain South Extension Trillium line is delayed. It was supposed to open end of 2022. We're now looking at 2023 with the substantial completion and handover hopefully spring 2023. So that puts it about, let's say almost 3/4 of a year behind schedule, around, let's say, 9 months. And again, we're at the end of 2021 right now. This is almost, let's say, a year and 3/4 down the road from now. Many things can still happen. It could still suffer some more delay, and be end of 2023 potentially. Hopefully not, because obviously this is an important line for students going to Carleton University. So we obviously want to see this line really wrap up in the near future and open back up, because obviously it provides an important connection for university students and the community in general. So hopefully we can not see any further delays on this, but it's good to know at this point that where things do stand, and unfortunate of the situation. So just a couple thoughts on really everything here. Obviously the East Extension really progressing very nicely. South Extension definitely has some good advancements here and there, especially around the airport. We should see the station building here really wrap up in the next year. It's being mostly built by the Airport Authority, as well as the T-Next consortium. And see more trains show up on the Trillium line here as they make their way from Switzerland. That's really exciting. These are going to be fantastic, beautiful trains. Big, large, powerful. And finally, the West Extension moving ahead quite rapidly as well. It's good to see that the open trench work for the tunnel that's going to be passing underneath the Byron Linear Park, between Byron and Richmond Road. Really, a lot of excavation has taken place there. Big, significant difference from over a year ago, where, again, it was for the most part level ground. Really a significant change in that area. So excited to see how things progress over the coming year in this area. So really, overall, I think it's a pretty good update. Other than the schedule pressures that we're seeing and hearing about with the SGM Parkway and the ground conditions for the cut and cover tunnel in that area, and the Trillium line falling behind. Hopefully things can, maybe get a little better back on track and not fall further behind, but definitely an interesting update. Lots of great pictures, lots of aerial shots, which we haven't really seen much of before. But for those that are interested in seeing more, definitely invite you to come and look at otrain snapshot updates on our site. So railfans.ca, click otrain, then click snapshot updates. You can see snapshots broken down by all the different stations. There's filters at the top. If you just want to see updates for Bayview, just click Bayview. That's all you're going to see. Infrastructure, trains, lots of pictures coming in all the time. If you want to share your own pictures, we definitely encourage and invite that. And be very happy if you do. All you got to do, send us an email at snapshot@railfans.ca and just share your pictures with us. We'll be happy to post them on the site. We're very happy to include your name as credit with the photos so that you get credit for it. That's important to us. All we ask is that please send one email per station per date. So if you went to Bayview on, let's say, December 23rd, and then you went to Corso Italia on December 24th, or on the same day, one email with the pictures for that station on that day only, because it's impossible to try and sometimes it's not clear where the pictures were taken. So it just makes it easier for especially for me to sort through them and put them up accurately and correctly and not make any mistakes. So once again, you can send your pictures to snapshot@railfans.ca. Please keep them coming. We're going to be happy to continue sharing them over the next couple of years, and it makes a great archive over all the big progress on this important and massive infrastructure project in the City of Ottawa. So hopefully this little update and my little take on how things have been going has been informative for you. And I'm going to be doing some more things like this in the near future, doing some more analysis, and of course sharing more pictures. So definitely invite you to check out our website. Please subscribe to the Railfans YouTube channel below. Click the bell icon if you want to be notified when there's new videos. Thank you all for watching. Happy holidays. See you in 2022. Hopefully 2022 is a better year than 2021 as far as the pandemic. Wishing you all health, happiness, safety and security for you, your family, all your loved ones and friends. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching, and share your comments, and we'll talk to you again soon in 2022. Take care.